get a chance to, take your time to have something healed too.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of them were fresh, but that was an interesting concept. It was cool. So I was only like a year and a half in, into that shop. And I did my little piece. It was a Betty Page portrait with like a rose, and like I gave her like little chola earrings, and like a little teardrop, so like kind of Chicana. Yeah. That was what I did on my homegirl's leg. And I won, dude.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah. And there was a cash prize of $500.
Hell yeah.
Which is crazy. But like I was so like young that I paid my rent with that. Like I was like not making money, It was crazy that I won. There was a lot of artists there, and it was like a street shops, like, and they were mad, dude. Like the minute they announced it, like people just started packing. Like nobody, that community.
Was there multiple categories though, or was it just like
it was just one.
Oh, it was damn. Just the one. So you just swept everybody.
Dude, they were
Here's
so
this
mad.
little scrub. Who's this girl?
Yeah, dude, like, we don't even know her.
Yeah,
she
stepping on our turf.
Like,
yeah.
Dude, they were mad.
Take that, huh?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. But yeah, I was like in the cloud. I couldn't believe it.
That's good. Hell yeah. That money was accounted for already, like for your rent. So it's not like you're going to go ball out and get a bottle of tequila or something right now. You're just like, no, that's going to my bills.
Right, dude.
So thank you. Right. That must have felt boosting though, right? Like you actually acknowledgement, spotlight, so that's kind of, did that motivate you to like push on? And we don't really have any kind of validation. Like our clients will tell us. Last time I've seen you, do you remember when was the last time I seen you?
It was at the Hollister
biker rally.
Bike rally. Oh
Shout out Only the Honorable Tattoo.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so that was what, like 20...
God,
16?
2015, 16, yeah. So, 10 years ago.
Where did you live at that point?
So, I was living for a brief second in Ventura.
Okay.
So, that summer, I had moved back to California.
Oh, right. See, when I met you, I was like, I'm wondering if she lives in Cali. That's when I like reached out, but I wasn't too sure, and I saw you're like, oh, I'm in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm in Denver. I'm originally from LA.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but we moved when I was 11 to Denver.
Right.
So, I've been out there ever since. But I've been wanting to make my way back west forever,
Yeah.
I still do, but, for now, I'm still in Denver.
This whole last weekend, you were traveling, though, right?
Actually, the last 2 weeks, I did Chicago. I did the Chicago convention the weekend, last weekend, and then I did a little show in El Centro.
Okay.
So the last 2 weeks have been travel.
Travel, go.
I went home for 2 days and then got back on a plane.
You were just on the grind.
I guess, dude. It just worked out that way, I never do that much,
What crew were you? When Chicago, you joined the crew, or you were with the team, right?
Yes, I was with the Black and Gray team.
Oh, shout out to Black and Gray. That's right.
Angel in Chicago. But yeah, dude. I joined so I've traveled with them a handful of times, but. Yeah, this one was huge. There was like 40 of us.
When I had Caesar on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, Caesar.
Yeah. He was telling me about that too, because you traveled with the Black and Gray crew.
Yeah, he was there.
And we all get that itch to travel, and then we get in it, and sometimes we're like in over our heads. This is exhausting.
Dude.
It's a lot of work.
Dude.
What year did you first start traveling? Do you remember?
So I want to say when I met you, so 10 years ago.
Okay.
That was probably, so 2014 was my first convention, my first show, and it was Sturgis.
Dang.
Sturgis Bike Rally. And it was 2 weeks of
tossed into the fire, dude.
I swear, I was a little baby. I didn't know. So I was really new, but yeah, that was interesting.
Sturgis was your first.
Yes, it was.
That's pretty intense for it to be the.
It was a lot. It was
wild. Not even dipping your toes. You just like.
Yeah, dude. I didn't know I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Right. I didn't know. I mean, it was great, but I wasn't aware.
Welcome everybody back to Tattooing Out Loud podcast. Today's show is sponsored by Helios Tattoo Supply. For all your tattoo shop supply needs, head on over to heliostattoo.com. Try out their new batch of tattoo ink and their new needles. Also, thank you to Industry Inks for having our back on projects and also providing us with a variety of tattoo pigments. Everything from black and gray to a vast range of tattoo inks. Head on over to industryinks.com, and on your next order upon checkout, use promo code OUTLOUD to receive a special discount. On that note, if you are tuning in, viewing, or listening, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Help the project grow. Appreciate that so much. So we are shooting on location. Huge shout out to A4S Podcast Studio for hosting this episode. Thank you for the crew. Very professional. Top of the line studio. If you guys haven't seen them, go check out the website. And if you're creating media and any podcast needs or music production, go on over to the website and check out the services that they provide. All right. So give us your name. Go ahead and tell us how long you've been tattooing, where you're from, and also describe your style.
Awesome. My name is Nabile Torres. I am originally from LA, but I've been living in Denver for a long time. That's where I work. I've been tattooing 11 years. And the style that I do is black and gray realism. That's what I've been doing for a long time. Lately, I've been exploring more like illustrative stuff, animated, pinups. Like I'm doodling, you know?
Yeah. I've seen that you got like a lot of the black and gray realism, the portraits.
Yes.
So how did you get into tattooing? Like, what was your first experience of like getting exposed to the tattooing? Was it like your surroundings, the culture? What was like
growing up in LA? The tattoo culture was very much like frowned upon. I grew up in a traditional Mexican household, you know, and so it was looked at as like only gangster, you know, the gangster. Like I've never set foot in a tattoo shop as a child, and so we moved to Denver, and when the whole reality show started. I mean, honestly, dude,
yeah, that's true.
Some people will hate that answer.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah,
that's what exposed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I always was creative, artistic. I always liked to draw, but that exposed me to that. Like this is an actual career. Like this is a respected, you know, art form. Like you can make money, make a living.
It's an option industry.
It's an option.
Yeah.
You know, I can draw for a living doing this. You know, so that I opened my eyes to that maybe like around like 12 or 13.
Oh wow, that young, huh?
Yeah, that's when I was like,
When you went to school, did you have like a different plan before you, like, let's say your high school graduation, and then like was college in the radar, or did you have like just straight? Did you even finish high school?
Yeah.
Like what was all like?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I just was like, oh, a nurse, maybe. I don't know. You know, like a mom. I don't know.
Right.
You know? Like,
I'm gonna be a mom.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a mom. I guess. You know, that was the options we had as as kids. I guess. No, I guess. So in middle school is when I was like, tattooing, and then, so I kind of had my sights set ever since then. Like that's what I want to do. I did finish high school, and but so I was kind of like on my own early. Like I was like 16 when I was like you know, life hits you and you're like, you got to figure out how you're going to survive.
Mature a little quicker.
Yeah, like you got to figure this out, you know. So by the, you know, I worked a lot, but I was always like striving towards tattooing. I'm like, I know I need to like get an apprenticeship. Like I was aware that I had to do all that, but it was a lot of like working to survive, you know. So I tried an apprenticeship when I was 19, but that didn't work out. So I finally got into an apprenticeship when I was 22. But I was kind of like messing with it before that. Like I bought a tattoo kit.
Oh,
I was like
on your own.
Friends.
Yeah.
Like
the guinea pigs.
Yeah. Dude, like
the hood tats.
That was a time, you know.
Shout out to those first
dude,
A1s.
The writers.
Right,
you know?
the writers.
Like, they didn't care. So
we all have those, you know.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we all, you know, all. That's how we all start. So
for sure.
But yeah, I didn't officially get my apprenticeship until I was 22.
Okay.
So that's when I really was like in a shop to stay. You know, I obviously was working and doing my apprenticeship for a while.
Yeah.
It was like a year and a half of that before I went to another shop to work as a full-time artist.
So you only had this like option for you to be like, this is my interest, I'm gonna jump into tattooing, not this other trade or like this other like you mentioned nursing. Like you didn't want to do like what were you up against as far as your priorities or responsibilities that you had at home? Was it like helping the family out, or what was it that like kind of motivated you to have to find this place?
My mom like took off like she didn't like just like abandon me, but like she left when I was 16.
Okay.
So I'm grateful that I had my older sister to like pretty much just like stay with her, you know. But it was like, you gotta figure out how to live on your own, you know? So that's pretty much what, like, you know, and I was just like, I was a waitress for like years. I worked a lot, dude. Like you know, so it was like waitressing and retail and like 2 part-time jobs, 3 part-time jobs, 2 full-time jobs. Like, you know, like I just like, I gotta make
stack
this,
it.
dude,
you gotta stack it.
So it was just that. And then it's like, okay, you know, I'm gonna work until I can tattoo, you know, like that. It was always that was the option that I had because I had no other options, you know, which is kind of like a blessing in disguise. Maybe it didn't feel that way then, you know, but I didn't like have anybody telling me like, oh, tattooing is not the way, or like that's bad, or like that's not reliable, or, you know, that's unrealistic or whatever. Right. So I had nobody telling me, like, no resistance as far as that went, you know? So I was just like, I'm going to work my ass off until I get into a tattoo shop, and like, then I can just do that, you know?
Right. You had like to make it into tattooing basically, right? Who explained, for instance, like you had, these are the steps into getting into a tattoo shop or finding a tattoo shop that would accept an apprenticeship. That's another like factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first shop that you got exposed to, when you walked in, how was that experience to be like, hey, like I want to apprentice, and the response to that or the reaction?
The first apprenticeship that I did get was when I was 19. And I want to say I was just like going shop to shop with my drawing portfolio.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
okay.
like the old school way, like
Right.
just knocking on doors. And I don't think, like, I don't remember exactly like how many I went to or whatever. But yeah, I remember the one that I did get into, like I had my drawings and he looked at them and he was like, okay, like he was very like cool, you know,
Right.
he wasn't like giving me that like, oh, well, you know, like that tough, like
Right.
he was actually really cool. He liked my art, and yeah, and it was definitely like a good opportunity. Like it was a cool vibe. It was a cool shop. It wasn't like predatory. It was, thankfully, you know, but I just wasn't quite ready at 19. I don't think I was like, I just didn't have my head on straight, even though like I was working. I ended up like crashing my car, so I had to work more. Dude, it was just like not, it just wasn't time yet. You know, I wasn't ready, you know, but yeah, I mean, I don't even exactly remember like how I got to even know like the rules, like, okay, you have to get an apprenticeship. Like, I don't know, because I didn't have like friends or like,
or nothing.
Yeah, like I didn't really, I had one homie that was like tattooing, learning to tattoo that I went to school with. Yeah, I didn't follow the path with him, you know, so I really don't exactly remember like how I figured, okay, this is a plan, right? You know, but I mean, I would, you know, I was on my own young, so I would like walk into a shop and like, oh, I'm gonna get a little tattoo.
Did you had a tattoo already though, or?
Yeah, dude, my first tattoo I was like 16, and it was by that homie.
Nice.
You know, but then once I turned 18, you know, I would just like go to shops and like get like little things and then like pick their brains, and maybe from there, that's when I was
Start watching what they were doing and stuff.
Yes, and I formulated like a plan, like, okay, this is what I gotta do, you know, little by little. But yeah,
and so you're working and apprenticing at the same time. How was that life? Here I am ready to quit, but I know I'm not there yet, and I gotta hold on to this source of income before I even go like all in, right? Is that the kind of, I mean, you're soaking game from these artists in the shop, and they've already put in their time. And did you ever get like a rough apprenticeship? Was it like, did you do all the grunt work and all that, or?
Definitely at that first one, I was there for a few months, you know, like I was, you know, cleaning and doing all that. Like he's like, okay, you're gonna break apart this machine and you're gonna look at all the pieces and you're gonna figure out what the names are. Like he was doing it right, you know, like I really wish I would have continued with him. But then the apprenticeship that took me into my career, that one was, I did all the grunt work. I was washing, you know, the tubes, like
Scrubbing
metal
tubes.
tubes. Yeah, I was scrubbing tubes in that room 8 hours, just like, you know, cleaning the toilet. Like it was all of that. It was definitely all of that. And then it was like that shop was a street shop, like on like the boulevard in like kind of a hood area, like
doing
bums.
Walk-ins.
Yeah, doing walk-ins, you know, but like you know, we get like bums coming in. It was like that kind of like area, you know.
Right.
It's really hard for me to like express how I feel about that shop, because although you know, I have to be grateful because that's where I got my start, and they took me, you know, like they took me in and like they didn't charge me, and but also like I was tattooing clients really fast. Like I wasn't ready. I was nervous.
Busting them out.
Yeah, dude.
Turn and burn.
I wasn't ready.
Dang. You know? So they just like sent you off to the wolves. Kinda, like, hey,
dude,
like you're ready, go. Instead of, so at the previous shop though, where you did start, how long was your like the first intro was like what, within months or?
Yeah, I was probably only there. I mean, it's hard. I was so long ago.
No, I get, like a rough, like, let's just say you're like, I don't know, 6 to 7 months or whatever.
No, it was not that long.
Okay,
I probably
5 months.
I was probably there under 5 months, maybe even like 3-4 months.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I wasn't there very long.
You got your certificate?
Yeah, I didn't get anything.
You're ready, yeah.
So I left there. He did let me go. You know, he let me go because I wasn't there enough. Because again, I crashed my car, so I was picking up more shifts at the restaurant. I could see
that being like, yo, this girl's not dependable.
Yeah, dude. You know, and I wasn't there on weekends when I had to work. You know, so but it was like we sat down and he was very cool about it. You know, but anyway, the shop where I did my real apprenticeship, where I was there for a year and a half, it was just interesting because like they kind of like exploited the free labor a little bit, you know, like there was like a lot of apprentices that would come in and out and like, you know, like, and again, I don't want to like talk shit, you know.
It's not bad bashing. It's just your own experience, huh?
It is, you know, and I, especially looking back on it now, as I, you know, been in the industry for so long and seeing where like maybe some might have been taken advantage of in certain ways, just as far as like, you know, they just needed somebody to get clients in and out. You know what I mean? And that shop is no longer, you know, like the two guys that ran it, one of them didn't tattoo and the other one kind of tattooed, but doesn't anymore. So it was like there wasn't the love for the art there, you know?
The passion was
I think that's what the main thing, that there wasn't like that whole like camaraderie, you know, and
community
like
too, like
community. There wasn't a connection to the rest of the industry. It was like, this is a business. Like we're, you know, $30 minimum.
Oh damn.
You know, like, and I mean, it was back in the days too,
sure,
but still, like
but still,
it was like that.
You
know,
it invites a certain I get it. Because a lot of people I've also spoken to that start off in like this whole street shop thing, it builds you as an artist differently, because then that's like literally what underlines the whole paying your dues.
Yeah.
You had life hitting you left and right. Your back's up against the wall. You have all these factors, right? But you had to really pursue it. So then you're in it, like you said, look, I got my drawings, I got my art skills, but you're trying to, you know, transcribe that into skin is obviously what you're trying to learn. But you might have this level of passion that you don't know if this shop that you're going into is not at that level or whatever the case, right? You saw that it was more street shop, only turn and burn kind of transactional tattoo shop. Is that kind of what like turned you off in a way to something else? Or
I literally wrote it out till the wheels fell like it was like this, like they weren't like paying us.
For
like
sure.
They would come in sporadically. He'd be like, turn in your notebook, and he would like pay me a it was
like a ledger, like a notebook ledger of all your
of what we did, and he they wouldn't pay us consistently. They wouldn't pay us everything they owed us, and so after a while, I was like, this is not like
that's shady. Side.
Yeah, it got really shady, you know. So then I left. Then they dipped on that building, like they packed up all their shit, left, and went somewhere else. And then after that, they just kind of felt like the shop
wild.
just kind of just. And then so I found another place to work out of, and brought a couple of the guys. Like I brought the girl apprentice, a veteran tattooer, and the piercer to the shop that I was working at. Like they came with me.
You just brought a whole crew with you.
Yeah, dude, the cool ones, the ones that
the ones you vibe with, obviously, because
And actually, I was cool with everyone. Like we were all good friends. It was just the owners that were like on something else.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, you find that still in little corners of the.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's a business, you know. Like it's.
You probably by now understand through what you've picked and pulled from different shops, like what it takes to have longevity in a business versus what can easily crash down, right? From that shop in Hollister where I met you, Matt, the owner, shout out to Matt Gomez, man. He put me on game with a lot of the business side of it. I mean, all the artists will tell you, some of the artists and I, we'd be at the booth like tattooing or setting up. And whenever he had the event, like there'd be like a big table, right? Like open table. And we'd be talking, and the apprentice at the time was like, yeah, Matt pulls up in this, pulls up in that. I mean, he never was a show off. He wore success on himself proudly. And that's something that I admired from the get. He gave me a home to tattoo at when the last shop before that in Gilroy, they closed and they were going to move. And I just decided I didn't want to continue with that shop. I was going to go, Matt gave me that like, hey, I got this open spot, whatever. I mean, they had like what? That place was like a warehouse, dude. I think, remember that shop, the size of it? It was huge. A big old shop. Beautiful shop. He's like, hey, come out here. I got the space. You know, I joined in there and I was just home for me. Everybody was just, you know, that was a solid community within that shop. Now, he also, like, again, he just told you, like, this is this. He kind of gave you the, you know, do this to the business, do that. And previous to that, I would do the same, but I would pick away from, like, I would take away what I saw successful with shops and what failed in a shop. Like, for instance, you would see the same. And then you start building this whole backlog to be successful. No one's going to teach you this. We're not going to learn this in school. If they would have told me this back in the day, they never taught me how to do this, like from the taxes to the independent contractor, right? All this, there's so many new avenues of our industry and to make a living nowadays. I mean, there's so many options now where people could venture in, but you do decide to build your own rep of what a successful business does, you know. And in our industry, you have to take those notes from those shops we've been at, the successes and the fails, but in a sense of mentorship, we'll always have a mentor in that when you have like the older OG that's like, you can reach out to, or even other homies that you see are doing great and like pick their brain. And I love the fact that they will still like, I'll talk to anybody, the homie Gunner. I'll be like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I went to go see his shop when we did our episode, and it was like, out of this, it was just a beautiful shop. Yeah. And when I opened the first shop, he came to the shop to check it all out, and he told me, he's like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. Not at all hating, not at all like, trying to rain on that parade, or he's like, no, this is going to be dope. Do this, make sure you have this. I mean, he was giving me all the pointers. And you don't find that nowadays. From there, how long did you ride it out with that shop? The newer one where you brought all the guys in? How long?
So I was there for a little over 5 years.
Right.
And that shop, that was another street shop. It actually was right across the street from the
old location.
The old location, yeah. That's so funny.
That's funny. Yeah, we'll cross the street.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and it's like so anybody Denver, like Colfax Avenue, that's like the
strip.
The strip. That's the strip. Yeah.
That's like
People know. Oh, Colfax. Yeah.
Yeah. How many shops are there? Do you know?
A lot
within that area.
Yeah. Colfax Ave. Yeah. It's a very long.
It's like an art district.
Yeah, it where I was at is in Aurora.
Oh, Aurora?
Yeah, but then it does lead into Denver. So that's nice. Aurora. So that you can see that strip is so long. Like it goes so far. And I think it holds some record of like the longest avenue in some, whatever. Like, I don't know if in America.
Well, it reminds me of like the Hollywood Boulevard scene.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked there on the Hollywood Strip?
No, I have not, but that would be crazy. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I remember Hollywood is crazy.
Yeah.
Love Hollywood.
There's a lot of shops there though.
Yeah. I would say it's like similar, dude. Like,
did you start seeing more like openings for yourself to grow, or like? It
was pretty much starting from zero, like I don't even think I had a clientele built from the whole shop.
Because it's all like, you don't know if people are going to like walk back in. Or
right. Whatever. It was straight up walk-ins and like the cheapest, the option. That's what the kind of clientele that was at the first shop. So at Aztec, it was, they had a big following, they were Chicano owned. And so they catered a lot to the Spanish speaking community. So that's big, like that they can walk in not speaking any English and get, and they were very hospitable, warm people, like very much catering to the community. So they had their clientele, so I'm coming in just kind of like newbie, I don't know much. So they definitely put me on game, like how to hustle, how to like talk to people, how to like,
and your art, I'm sure, like,
and the art, definitely the art. And like what was refreshing there was like the boss man there was like, oh, you like doing pinups? You do that? Like at the other they're like, no, you got to learn how to do stars. You got to do stars, like learn by memory, like kind of thing. And although there's a value in that,
there's Lolo.
Oh yeah, Lolo. Yeah. Shout out to Lolo. He taught me a lot. He was very much like a father figure, and like, and he supported my art, dude. Like that was refreshing to me, like he's like, do what you want, but obviously still I had to do everything else, like,
no, for sure. Yeah, that's cool too to have it like the refreshing aspect, to have somebody just say, if you have questions of tattooing, obviously you need something to elevate you to that next with your artistry, right? To get to that next level of technique and stuff like that,
right?
Because I mean, YouTube University wasn't that popping back in the day,
right?
It wasn't like you know what I mean?
Though,
yeah. Well, I feel like they would circulate a few of the technique videos on like a little DVD disc drive or whatever, right? So the little USB drive. But that's when a lot of that stuff was even in over our own heads, because we're not in those 10 years where, you're trying to see a Mike DeVries black and gray tutorial.
God, yes.
And we're just like trying to follow along. And because I remember my first portrait, I was literally like, I was doing a portrait and I'm watching the video on the laptop, and I'm like, do this, and I'm watching. It didn't plan out.
Yeah.
There's no like step, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he's doing this, I'm gonna gotta do this, I just,
that's funny.
But that's where you learn, that's where you pick up your game.
So I was there for 5 years. In those 5 years, I left them, I'm gonna move to California, and that's when I went to Ventura and did a bunch of traveling. And
where'd you tattoo in Ventura?
I was at this shop called West Coast Tattoo. I don't know if they're there anymore.
Okay.
I don't think they're there anymore, but I was, again, it was only 3 months,
Yeah. Closed.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And it was in Ventura. So I'm sure there's a lot of them with that name,
No, for sure, yeah. We got
So
great review.
yeah, dude. So it's funny because like when I left, I like packed all my shit in my Ford Explorer. Like I had everything I owned. Like I had nothing, you know. And I was just like, I'm gonna go west, you know. And again, it was 3 months, and I did traveling while I was. Obviously, I went to that bike rally. I did.
How did you get in contact with them to do the rally? Did they invite you, or do you remember how you got in contact with that?
Oh, with the Hollister one.
Yeah.
Was it Ramon?
Oh, Ray.
Yes.
Yeah. Ramon.
Yeah, he just hit me up. It was random. Like he saw my Facebook and like he was like, "Dude, I love your work. Like you should come
through." Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
It was just like that.
Everybody, a lot of the guys so they had the regulars in that shop, but there was a lot of us that were just from San Ho or Gilroy, or they were kind of traveling in. They would all come into that shop, but we all kind of got together and treated it as a convention. Do you remember that? It was kind of like a convention. There was like, but it wasn't no. That's why when you mentioned Sturgis, I'm thinking, okay, the Hollister rally wasn't like that because Sturgis is like, I mean, you don't have to take a break if you don't want to.
Yeah, dude.
Sturgis is crazy.
And it's like 2 weeks. It's like
3
week
long. Yeah, 3 week long thing. But yeah, it's a little more chill vibe in there, and then it's organized in the sense where they're like, okay, here's this next or this person. Did you have like a whole list of things to go? Like you're just gonna stop here, and I'm gonna go here.
So yeah, it was kind of organic. I like that was a random, how Ramon just hit me up, but the guy that I worked with at West Coast, he was the one that originally he was a friend, and he hit me up to do Sturgis the first year, which I was still in Denver. And then when I went to go to Ventura and I was working there, I kind of just piggybacked off their plans. He's like, oh, we're going here, we're going there. And I would just kind of like follow them. Like, so yeah, that's kind of how, that was my introduction into like the traveling world. And it was just through the homie. And
your first convention, do you remember the actual convention though? Which was your first? Actual
convention? Oh, it might have been Galveston.
Oh, okay.
Texas. I think that might have been my first real one. It might have been overwhelming, but it was ultimately like, it gave me energy, like it was just like,
well, you're like, I can imagine you needed that stimulant of like really high energy place, especially if you working in retail and everything and having multiple jobs. I'm sure it kind of built you a little bit of a like strategy how to talk to people, and because not a lot of people have that.
Absolutely,
also,
and as a waitress, so that you learn how to like look people in the eye.
So you're probably like, locking everybody in.
Yeah, dude, you gotta work a little bit.
Sit down, I got time right now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, actually, that job helped a lot for that.
Make your own waiting area in your.
Yeah, dude, I know, right? Customer service,
Right, for sure, sure.
I didn't really compete early on. Definitely, it definitely opened my eyes to the world of tattooing. And then like there was like celebrity tattooers, and I was like, whoa.
At
like
first,
ink master guys. I was like, oh my God, I'm not worthy, you know? Like, so it was like that, you know.
A little starstruck of you don't know how to take it all, you don't know how to act.
Dude, I was just like, again, I was like a pup. I was just like, oh my God, like, wide-eyed.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it was interesting, it definitely opened my whole like brain to.
Which one did you first compete at?
So this is funny. My first actual competition was back before I started traveling, before I went to Ventura, when I was still in Aurora and Denver. Yeah. At that second shop at Aztec, there was this competition that was formed. So there were no conventions in Denver at that time, or there was like a little gap where there wasn't any. So this local guy put together a tattoo competition event, and it was like at kind of like this little club venue. Okay. So it was just literally like one night, a bunch of local artists came, set up a booth, and then just like entered a competition. It was really...
It's like bring your own client kind of thing too, or...
Well, nobody was tattooing.
Okay.
So you do bring your own client, but tattooed.
It's already done.
Yeah, it's already done. And so That's like, it was interesting.
Cool.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that since.
That's cool, because then you get a chance to, take your time to have something healed too.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of them were fresh, but yeah, that was an interesting concept, but it was cool. So I was only like a year and a half in, into that shop, and I did my little piece. It was a Betty Page portrait with like a rose, and like I gave her like little chola earrings, and like a little teardrop, so like kind of Chicana. Yeah. That was what I did on my homegirl's leg, and I fucking won, dude.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah, and there was a cash prize of $500.
Hell yeah.
Which is crazy, but like I was so like young that I paid my rent with that. Like I was like not making money, It was crazy that I won. There was a lot of artists there, and it was like a street shops, like, and they were mad, dude. Like the minute they announced it, like a bunch of people just started packing. Like nobody, that community.
Was there multiple categories though, or was it just like a?
It was just one.
Oh,
It was just the
damn.
one.
So you just swept everybody?
Dude, they were
Here's
so
this
mad.
little scrub. Who's this girl?
Yeah, dude, like, we don't even know her.
Yeah,
She doesn't
stepping
even
on our
go here.
turf.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, they were
Dang,
mad.
take that, huh?
Yeah, dude, it was
That's what's
crazy. But yeah, I was like in the cloud. I couldn't believe it. You
That's
know?
good. Hell yeah.
So
That was probably like a good. Well, I mean, because that money was gonna go to like. That money was accounted for already, like for your rent. So it's not like you're gonna go ball out and get a bottle of tequila or something, right? No, you're just like, no, that's going to my bills.
Right, dude.
So thank you. Right. So
Yeah.
I mean, when that must have felt boosting though, right? Like you actually acknowledgement, spotlight,
Absolutely.
you know. So that's kind of, did that motivate you to like push on and right? Because we don't really have any kind of validation. Like our clients will tell us my piece, but it's kind of like cheating. It's kind of like your spouse or your some family member be like,
mom.
oh, mija, it's so beautiful, right? And we're just like,
you're the best.
but you don't count. I want to hear from my peers.
Exactly.
You were seeking that validation, and they give you like concrete, like solid, like this is my my own reward aspect in a sense. Like that probably felt good. And you're at most conventions, you'll try to. I've seen you like do competitions, right? And stuff.
I try to enter as often as I can. And yeah, dude, that totally it did. You know, like it definitely inspired me. I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Like I'm actually in the game. You know, like I'm not, because I was a year and a half in, and I was like the only girl there, and I was the youngest one, and like
I'm sure that all had the factor of pissing people off.
Yeah, dude,
You
and
know?
like to feel acknowledged, you know, that was like,
You just got the Oscars.
yeah, I mean,
So I got the Grammys now.
I like to thank God.
Yeah,
And,
like what, do I give my speech?
Dude,
You're on
I
stage.
did do a speech. I was like, a girl won this one time. I was like so hyped.
Repping all,
Yeah, and the
throwing
guys were
gang
like,
signs
oh.
in the air.
Yeah, they're all packing. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Your shop was all stoked for you though. Yeah, I'm
Oh
sure.
hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
My coworkers were like, no bet. Like they were
That's
cheering. It was
right.
epic, dude.
That's
it was
tight.
like so. Yeah,
That's that memory though. You get that etched, and you get to live on
Right.
I feel like those are the best. You know, the first. Then there's on the flip side where people are like, competition's this, that. But I'm like, you know what? Let us, let you celebrate that moment because
Right,
you worked
dude.
hard for something. And
Right.
if you get any kind of sense of acknowledgement, back in the day, it would be viral. Would be the magazine. That would be like the,
that's
that would be like the of the day, like the tattoo magazine or the very first Ed Hardy. That was your viral. If you were on there, you're like, I made it.
right,
You know.
right, for sure.
But it's like, but then others are like, oh, they probably paid to get in the magazine. There's always always some hating, right, aspect of it.
Yeah, that's all.
But
Part
I'm like,
of
hey,
it.
you know what? Let you, savor that moment. Your shop is kind of like, yo, that's what's up, right?
Yeah,
and then you
dude.
show that off proudly.
Yeah.
Did you start to get on did you want to fill the roster with traveling? I'm sure now you start getting linked in with the community, other artists opening doors, guest spots and things like that.
Yeah. After that award, there wasn't much,
Right.
What you're saying of that momentum of like, okay, let's go. That was when we fast forwarded to being in Ventura, being in California, and like me getting out into the convention. That's when that happened, when I was like getting kind of connected a little bit more, just meeting people.
Yeah.
I feel like the Black and Gray community isn't as like united out there. Sorry, guys.
Sure. We
You
got
know?
to change that.
Yeah, we do. Like
Who knows what it can be or whatever, right? But I mean, there's a lot of things that can, because a lot of the guys that you and I would know that as far as that are in the community that are together, I'm starting to see a community of Black and Gray, but also the color and the real within the shops that vibe with this shop, the voucher of word. So it's like, word is bond kind of thing. If you have a full on shop and you send them to Cali and you go see Omar, and they'll be like, oh, I work at her shop. Oh, then you're good.
Right.
Like, cause that's like I feel like there is, but there isn't. So I know what you mean. And it's like, I don't know what would bridge that gap. I did start this project. I wanted to do that also. I wanted to be like, reaching out to these different avenues of artists that I've met and to really show that there really is a lot of my homies are out of state.
For the most part, it was like shops stay within
the shop.
yeah, like, and maybe they might know, people here and there, but it's not as like regular. Like I didn't meet a lot of people in the industry working there. And I mean, really, I don't network in Denver. So I guess I'll say it that way.
That's wild.
Yeah, because I can't blame it on the shop. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not saying, and it's not like on purpose, like I'm not going to network in
No,
Denver.
no.
I don't know. I didn't understand the value of it at that time. I was still young, and like my main thing was to make enough money to just be comfortable.
Be good, yeah.
There was my main priority was like paying the bills and you know, stepping my life up and living in a nicer area and having a nicer, you know, having a nicer car, you know, something with air conditioning. Like that was what was taking up all of my, you know,
that makes sense.
So that the community thing, I didn't even realize that I wasn't doing that until kind of recently, actually. You know, survival was the main thing, you know, and the art was, I always had the art, like, yeah, art is important, but even that took second to just surviving and just like paying my bills and stuff. So I didn't come to that whole, like the realization of, I have to build relationships and, you know, compare my work. Like, I think your work growing has so much to do with like being next to other artists and seeing how they work, you know, and like, I didn't fully understand that then, you know? So I would say maybe the last like 5 years is when I've really like, it clicked and I'm like now actively pursuing that. Right. Before it was just, again, just kind of like, I need to make money. And
so you could say in comparison, that's kind of like you were in your own lane. Right. You stayed, you didn't worry about anybody else. You were just kind of like eye on the prize. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's true though. I mean, with people around you and then you go to a secluded, like private, which is, I mean, it's a dream, right? It's pretty cool to have your own space like that. But I mean, to grow, you do need those. I'm sure it's crazy when you do like these conventions with like, for instance, like the black and gray crews, like you have those guys next to you that they're all like summoned from different areas too. Right. And then now you have, you know, Ohio, Chicago, Florida, right? Italy. Like everywhere, all in one little booth. Yeah. And I feel like that does, I guess, you know, cut off that whole, the united aspect where there isn't no kind of unity. That's nice to see that. I mean, what was your experience because this last weekend you were doing the Chicago one. So how was that like experience overall? Like the conventions, like, because I spoke to a few guys that they're on either side of it where they're like conventions have changed and the other guys that are still doing it because they're like, I love conventions no matter the turnout, no matter the, I mean, I don't want to say they're not looking out to make like a lucrative thing, but it's like some guys are only there to, it's like, this is my quota and if I don't hit it, I'm not coming back. Like it's real stern. So
this was the second year that I did it with them. Yeah. Last year was 20 artists. This year was 40 artists. So it was insane. And I'll say this, like, it's super intimidating. Like, you know, like just being amongst these beasts, they're beasts, like all of them, you know, and all of them have a huge following. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I can't lie. Like it's hard to not like feel that where you're like the little pressure, you're like, okay, like I need to do this right. You know, like, so there's that, but also it's like, everybody's so cool. Angel handpicks everyone to like join the roster and like, everybody's cool. Like, yeah, the work and the following, all that, but like everybody vibes, everybody's supportive, everybody's nice. Yeah. You know, like everybody's nice.
That's so crazy. 40 artists.
40. We had 2 rows, you know, just like facing each other.
That's a whole row, dude.
It was hard. Like I tried to like talk to everyone, you know, like maybe there was a couple that I didn't really get to talk to, but I tried to introduce myself to everyone because like I wanted to make sure, you know, but that's a lot of people. Yeah. But yeah, dude, it was great. It was awesome. Everybody worked. Everybody was busy. All busy. And then, you know, we had time to get together and have a meal. Like we, you know, so
it's not like I used to be when you're like, no time for meals, no time for like togetherness. Cause at night you're drawing the next day stuff or dude. Or you don't have the ends yet. So you got to like live on energy bars.
Yeah, dude. No, yeah. And the meal was at the end, you know, so like Angel put
everybody together. Yeah.
Yeah. We went to a fancy dinner and all like where we were all in a private room and just like, it was so cool. Like it's always very heartwarming.
Where's his shop hub? Where's that from? Where is it at? Like
so his shop is called Black and Gray, you know, and it's in Gurnee, Illinois. So he says Chicago area.
So it's like his background, huh? Like I mean, it's like his backyard going to this show in a sense because it's like it's right there, not so far.
Yeah, that's why he went all out because it's his you know stomping ground or
home
whatever.
Base. Yeah. That's cool, dude.
Yeah, I've experienced both sides of it. You know, where I've like haven't made any money, you know, or when I like profited a lot, you know. Sure. And of course people you know, some people, are there just like, I need to make this much money or this was a failure, you know, like that.
We've been there.
Yeah, dude, we have.
I'm in the negative since I landed.
Yeah,
it was like,
dude. Yeah, and I get it because some people like travel to make money. You know what I mean? Like that's like they go out of their, you know, they're not, if it's slow back home, they're like, we're going to go hustle and make money
try to
outside.
make a little grind you bump. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get it, you know, and like, you know, there's people that are just happy to be there, like the spec and everything in between, right? And I've been both, you know,
yeah, we've been to some sad conventions,
dude, where it's just like empty.
Blood, we got nothing but dust in the pockets, bro. Nothing but lint. We're just like, oh man. But I mean, that I've never really had that mindset where it's like, all right, this convention's a bust. It could also have been, what did you do your part from advertising to reaching out? I mean, nowadays they got forums where you could just get on the group of the convention and just pick clients ahead of time. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. Oh yeah. Here's a little bit of a subscribe, $9.95. I'm kidding. I'm about to drop some tips. No. So I remember we used to do that where, let's say it's Atlantic City and they had their own Facebook group of tattoo artists. You can go in there and people are literally posting their ideas like, I'm looking to get this, and then they'll get bombarded by artists that are on there. Which, I mean, then it kind of solidifies your maybe Friday, which Fridays are our slow days, right? If you don't have, like, for instance, if you're just, you have your own booth with another artist and you guys are not from Atlanta, Georgia, and then you're like, hey, let's go to Atlanta, and you don't know anybody there. But now they have like the Facebook groups. That's, I guess, a strategy. I want to check that out too. But before that, we would just be there and wait for the walk-ups. Now, if your booth is not at a good spot where it's like you're in the traffic. Have you ever done Philly?
No. Dude,
Philly's crazy, dude.
I heard
1,200 plus booths, like some ridiculous amount, huge. I mean, just to get to the bathroom and back is like, it's the worst, right? Yeah, it's a journey. So that was a challenge. Being like a tattoo collector and you go into these places, how hard it is to find an artist, like how overwhelming it must be. I'm grateful for the amount of tattoos that we've done at these conventions. That's like,
so true. You know what, that we were talking, so the show that I just came from, it's called Desert Sunsets Expo. It's small. Okay. It's like 40 shout out to Blaze. He's awesome. But yeah, it's 7th annual, and like it's like 40 artists. It's small. Yeah. But because of that, I feel like, it's not as overwhelming. Like everybody was busy, super busy, you know, like, okay, you know, you're part of the crew. We have supplies, like do your thing, like try to make an appointment. Like it's so cool. It's so cool. Like you do it.
Less stress free.
Yeah. There's no hostility. Like everybody wants everybody to eat, you know?
Have you ever been traveled with people that was complete opposite, where it was a little more hostile? It was a little more like,
not really. I mean, I have seen it, you know, where it's like kind of like artists, like, you know, try to undercut, like underpriced, you know, like
within the same row or the same booth. Yeah, that sucks.
But it, you know, luckily I've been lucky that like a lot of the people that I've come across and worked with have been just cool. You know what I mean? Haven't been like, oh, you took my client, or like, you know, I haven't really worked in a shop like that. Like, I'm grateful because I know that is a big part. Like a lot of people have those experiences. Yeah. So no, thankfully I have not, you know, it's been a lot of love from,
that's good.
Yeah. A lot of
people. That's good to hear that you know, well, obviously you pick and choose too. Like you're going to put yourself in a good spot.
Kind of are attracted to the right type of people sometimes. Yeah. Like, you know, when you vibe with people, right? Like you can't explain why. Yeah. So then, you know, I think when you do follow your gut and not like try to force connections. You guys on like
the same page of
you end up finding
stuff like that.
People that you're cool with, and you know it flows naturally and nicely, you know.
Right. No, that's super dope.
Yeah, I think that is so when I don't make money, what I take home as like the currency that I take is the connections that I made.
Like you're always half full.
With that,
the cup half full. Yeah. Instead of like instead of like half empty.
Yeah, dude. No, I think that's super important because I'm so starved for it back home. Right. So when I do meet a lot of people, like even that's one thing I learned. Even when I started out, that like, even if you don't make money, you're going to meet somebody. Even if you're not like best friends, you follow each other and like literally you like each other's work. Like there's people I met 10 years ago that I met once and they still like my work and I still like their work. And like just even that little support of like putting the like, hitting the like button, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
again, that goes back to the whole validation and the like doing it for your peers and seeing that peer love and the peer support. Right. Because I try to do it, like it's hard for me to scroll through the Instagram, but if I am doing a post, getting back to clients and things like that, or promotional stuff, and I do see a feed or it shows like, oh, like you posted something, I'll be like, go to like it. Or it's like the homie or Caesar or whoever, right? I try to as much as I can, or I'll go back and like their last ones or something just to showing that whole, because I know how it's a good thing to boost and also like in comparison, you know. I was curious as far as like how it is when you're working versus when it sucks. Like I'm sure your first shops, you were kind of learning from that, right? As a whole. Like if you're saying, hey, I don't like how these guys, or they're like you mentioned the predatory vibe or something, or the fairness, right, of equality too, to being like when you won that competition, you're the only female there, and I'm sure everybody was kind of like, what? Who is this, right? And that kind of sucks. But you're still trying to stay positive, and I like that you at least brought home those connections and stuff like that. That's a good way to see it, staying positive, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's so much more of value than just money in your pocket.
For sure.
You know, like that's, you know, sometimes I have a conversation with like, not even a tattooer, just like a random person. Like in Chicago, I went to the bathroom and this lady was breastfeeding, and I don't know, I just started talking to her, and like she was so cool. Just like I am and I'm not, like I'm a huge introvert, you know, but like
be a little more reserved, right?
I am like, I do need to go home and like recharge my social battery. You know, I often stay by myself, even though like splitting a hotel is like cost effective, right? But like going back and just having my space and just like
that's important.
Yeah,
you know?
dude, I am one of those people that requires that, so that I can be ready to talk to people, and then I can be that social butterfly.
That's a big thing, like on the mentals, because you're like focusing all day,
right?
And you're trying to match the energy of the client or the artist or whatever, and you're trying to also, you know, keep that going to keep up with them. That could be draining. At the end of the day, you're just like, and it sucks because you might have a whole other job when you come home, whether it's family and kids, and that's one thing where you have to regulate, and it's some days is harder than the others. That's so I guess like a caveat to that, like the whole challenges start, because I don't want you to be here as representing all female artists. I just want disclaimer. I don't want it to be like, hey, this is for all female. No, but I guess your own experience. I was curious, your own experience growing as a female going into this once was male dominant industry. And I was so curious as far as like what you mentioned, the first shop, you got a certain like a treatment or you didn't get a treatment, if it's like the whole, you know, taking advantage or not. And then you are coming into something where it's not as seen, whether like the spotlights from the TV shows where you do see a female artist and then people are like, what? Females are tattooing now, like that's it could be wild to some people, but I feel like now we come like so surpass all that.
Right. I would say that starting out, I was not aware. I was just not aware. You know, I was young and like I didn't know like how certain things, like, oh, it's because I'm a girl. Like I wasn't aware. Even just like the whole like feminism, like the, you know, all of the place of women in this world, period, right? Like I wasn't aware of all of that. So it's me more looking back and thinking like, oh, like putting things together, like, oh, that's why that guy said that, or this or that was treated. So I, you know, coming up, I was just so naive. Like I didn't know what was what really. I was just, again, just wide-eyed trying to make my money and like, okay, I gotta survive. So that was everything. But like, so coming up, what I now look back is, I feel like there was a part of me that realized, or if I didn't realize it, that I kind of had to be better.
Step it up.
Yeah. Like I had to be much better to even just be acknowledged, you know, like, even like thinking back, like being in a room full of men, like a lot of times you're not acknowledged. And then it's like, oh, you tattoo? Okay. Like, okay, you're one of us, but it's like, well, is your work good? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's these like for them to even talk, sometimes to even just be acknowledged, you know? And again, I didn't notice it at the time. I was kind of always used to just being in the background, you know? But looking back, there were things in my experience that now I realize it's because I was not just the only girl in the room, but like a young girl, and probably obviously naive and not like this, you know, not a hardened or seasoned. You know, so there were things, and even just like working in a street shop and getting randos to come in, tattooing drunk people, tattooing drunk guys, you know, like there was some disrespect, there was some overstepping, and so I kind of did adapt in the way where like, if the vibe was off, I'm like, no, and sometimes I would tell my boss, like, that guy made me feel uncomfortable. And he's like, don't take shit from anyone. Like, don't tattoo him. Like, I don't like,
Right.
and I love that he had my back. He was always very good about that. Like, don't take that, So
Right.
yeah, there were challenges being a woman, a girl, really a young girl in the industry,
I'm thinking about the age that you started in and just being like, again, it wasn't really seen. It wasn't really common. It wasn't.
Right.
So I was just curious, a lot of the things that you had to kind of adapt to, not seen as an equal, where now I can be like, she's one of the homies.
Yeah.
But not just, it goes beyond that though. It's like, respect your art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just doing it to like follow this whole, like some status quo of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to show everybody that I can show respect to a woman.
Yeah.
No. Like, she legit is like
girls,
a homie, like,
yeah.
and is, a badass artist. And what have you faced as far as people not taking you serious? Like, did you ever run into that kind of situation?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were so many times that I would like have I walk in and I give them all pretty much a mini consultation, right? Like, okay, you want this, you want that, it'll be this much, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, they're like, okay, so who's going to do it? That happened so many times. Dude's like, so who's going to tattoo me? Who's available? And I'm like, me.
Dude.
Like, yeah. They're like, so what does your work look like? And then, okay, there's my portfolio.
Sucks.
That happened a lot, And so that was definitely like a common one. And I've had at one time that I remember where it was a girl and she was like, oh, you? And then she just turned around and was like, I've never been tattooed by a girl, and I'm like, okay, but yeah. And so I think there was that pressure of like, well, I have to be really good just so that they could be like, oh, okay, yeah, dude, I trust you. I think if I was like mediocre, like they still would have probably wanted one of the guys.
Yeah.
So I had to be like, no, I do portraits, like, look at these portraits. Like, yeah, I can do a name, even though like I probably, was better at the portraits because that's what I like to do. And we all know that like little names on the wrist is like that. There's no room for error in that. And that's hard.
Right. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. And I'm like, fuck.
Dude.
How do you know? It's like, are you like a fortune teller? Like, tell the future and stuff? Dude, some that do sell the image. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like you saying, I at least respect myself, but
yeah.
I understand the, like the imagery. I understand the visuals that it's like I'm a female, whatever, but it's like at the same time you expect the clients to also respect, or an artist to, what would you say for someone to have gone through that, like standing your ground and not allowing yourself to, because you got to be a little chola to be like, yo, mess with me and find out kind of thing,
Dude, you know what? Yeah, like I did have to develop a little bit of that, especially at that shop. And not just the clients, but like they had homies that would come through, and then, it was like, oh, the new meat, like, who's this one, like, and there was a lot, where there was times where I'm like, fool, no, like I had to be like, they're like, oh, I want to get tattooed. And then they start flirting. I'm like, look, honestly, like I'll tattoo you. Like I had to be like that.
Right.
Because if you say no with a smile, it doesn't get taken seriously.
Right. Let it be known.
The tone has to change sometimes. Like some dudes don't get it. Like I love dudes, like I'm not a man hater, but like sometimes it is like that. And I think a lot of women can relate to like, you're like, no, like, and that's, no, you have to be like, no. And then it's like, the tone has to totally shift for them to be like, okay, never mind,
Right.
So that I did have to do that. But then I feel like it got to the point where I had to check myself a little bit because I was starting to get
to not be so like, right, how you
like hard,
come off in a little,
right, because then there's the other thing which, okay, so I don't want to say like, oh, this is a woman thing, like for me.
No, again, this is your own experience.
Yeah, this is my experience.
Disclaimer,
disclaimer. I'm not really trying to be the,
the representative,
right? But for me, I did. Okay, this one thing I noticed was like I noticed that some of the guys could just be like whatever with their clients,
Sure.
like, okay, like barely even eye contact, like, yeah, so what do you want, like kind of thing.
Right.
And I felt the pressure to be like extra nice, or else I was like a bitch, she's not nice, like it doesn't, that attitude doesn't sit well on a girl compared to like guys that are like these dudes are like super busy. They're like known, but they're not like quite their customer service was not there.
To par.
Yeah, dude, they're just like, so what do you want? Okay, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, like no smile, no nothing.
Right.
And so I did catch on to that early where I'm like, you know, like I didn't have the room, but I'm not gonna lie, like I wasn't always nice because I was very busy. Like it was a very busy shop. It wasn't always the type of environment that it was like a comfortable working environment.
Sure.
It was very party.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of, you know, we would get a lot of people drinking and I was very vocal about it. I'm like, I don't like these like drunk people. Like,
Right.
you know, it was very frustrating, you know, but you know, I think that's kind of part of the industry too. Like I feel like crazy tattoo shops, like we all kind of have worked in one.
That
right?
rock star life. Yeah.
Dude, and I was don't get me wrong. I love to party. I was part of it. Like I was
There's
all
the
about
on-off
it.
switch.
Yeah, dude. It was just, there was times where I didn't drink when I was working. I was very adamant about that.
And during your work time, you already know it's grind time.
Yeah.
So you're very like disciplined in that aspect.
Yeah,
right?
for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely gone through my times where I'm just like
a little loose on the goose.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I don't want to do this tattoo. I want to drink now.
Right,
you know,
right.
like so. I mean, I still have that in me. You
Yeah,
know,
for
like
sure.
I was a hard partier. You
Yeah.
know, and especially at that shop, like we were all hard partiers.
Right.
You know, but it got to a point where like that's not like when you mix that with work, like something's got to give. You know,
Right.
so. I ended up leaving mainly for that reason. I'm like, this is not, I'm not living healthy. I'm not putting enough time and energy into my art, you know. Like,
Did you see it in your work? Like, did you see that kind of reflect on your work also while you're tattooing, or like the end piece?
Yeah.
You can tell where your piece looks exhausted, or like when you yourself were starting to show fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see that also and kind of check yourself? Or,
yeah, I think, there were definitely days where I was just so tired and that last tattoo was not it, you know? But I think generally speaking, my work improved a lot because I worked so much.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, with more than anything, it was just like having long days and like, oh, I did 6 tattoos today. Yeah, that last one might not be the crispiest, you know,
Right.
more of that. But like working there, I did improve a lot overall, you know. Yeah, all of that does affect your work. You know what I mean? How you take care of yourself. Now that I'm not in I'm 35,
All right.
you know, so in my 20s, I could party, work hard, like, you know, burn out both ends, and it was all good, you know. Like now I'm
wake up like whatever, take a little vitamin shot,
dude, and just keep it moving,
keep
you know?
it cordial, yeah.
Not anymore.
No, I
Like,
struggle, dude. Even like when my kids want to do something later at night, and dude, I'm like, oh, crashing.
Yeah,
and
dude.
then it's like that, or then it's hard to turn that mind off.
Right.
You know, especially if you have a high revved day. You know, your day's just overstimulated with the clients, consults, getting back to people, XYZ, and then life outside of the tattoo shop, and then you go home and it's like, all right, I can't shut this off. You have that also, like the what do you do? Do you ever kind of like zen out? Do you do any kind of like meditational spiritual stuff, or
yeah, dude,
what's your like process?
Yeah, dude,
give us the secret, right?
Secret.
Yeah,
I haven't figured it quite out. I definitely meditate. That has changed my life.
That quiet time.
Yes. Like, and actual meditation is very recent in my life. Maybe the last 3 years that I've been incorporating it into my day to day. But that's been definitely like the method, you know, like even just like, again, having a room to myself and like zoning out, not talking, not saying a word, and just like turning on the TV and just like letting it, you know, like just letting kind of like
decompress all that.
Decompress all that. But yeah, the turning off the chatter is hard, you know, and sometimes the meditation is not doing it, you know, and I'm just like this past weekend, you know, I tried to turn in early, but like I would just lay there and just like, oh,
it's
and then
tough.
I talk to this person and then this person, you know, like it is tough to turn it off. And like, you know, I'm sure it's hard, like you have a family, right? So like being present for your kids and stuff.
That's important.
That I'm sure that's very
important. That's another
important.
full-time job after your full-time job. It's like,
dude.
and I know a lot of people can relate. A lot of the artists that do have the families are some of the people that I've met that are just on it, locked in to not just taking care of business, but then also are some of the best dads and moms that I've ever met. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is funny because then it reaches that whole stereotype where it's like tattoo people are like the worst and they have children and whatever. Like you hear that from time to time. People are like so quick to have that stigma, to judge that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you guys really knew, a lot of the guys that I was traveling with, they were there for that reason, because they were like, hey, I got things to take care of, man. I got like, this is the reason why I'm doing it, so that my family's good. And and it's like, with or without though, you yourself have to be good with your own headspace. And so is that good, a positive thing to have like your own space now with tattooing, like your own shop, your own like tattoo shop space? Do you feel like it's nice to just go in, it's your own terranium, like your own environment? Does it feel good to have that? Or are you missing that people obviously around you and still having that like other artists mingling? And where do you fall in between that? Is it like a love-hate thing, or?
It's both. Yeah. It's both. So I've been in my private studio it'll be 2 years in August. So a year and a half, you know? And although I did need it, I needed the space, and I needed to kind of see how I did it without other influences around, just kind of put my all into it just within my own. Use what I've learned, how you were saying, use everything that I've learned on my own. For sure. And then I figured that being on my own would starve me for social interaction. So then I travel more, and that's what I've been doing. Yeah. And it's kind of a good system right now for me, where I can just go back home, be alone, and then itch to get back out. And when I'm back out, I'm
recharge it and then discharge it. Yeah.
And then I'm like, hi everyone.
Ready.
I talk to everyone. I'm like, like blah, blah, blah. After Aztec, I went to a private studio with other artists, and it's called Ninth Life Studio. Shout out to Ninth Life Studio, Stephanie and Isaiah. Awesome people. So at first it was just us three, and then they would get other artists. So it was private, but there was a few of us. There was like a handful of artists there, Yeah,
that's
right
Ninth
there.
Life right there.
Ninth Life Studio, yes, in Lakewood. And that was a cool experience, because they were all about the art. They are all about the art. And
they have a cool like mixture of different styles too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And exactly. And they have their own thing. And I was the black and gray girl,
Let's go.
Yeah, it was cool. But we all, it was private, so we all booked our own, you know what I mean? So that's what my transition into appointment only and not feeding off of the shop, which was crazy. Like that's scary, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that was a really good experience. I was there for like 4.5 years.
Wow.
And then I decided to do my own thing.
Was that just kind of like a overload of stuff, or what led you to do like your own little corner space?
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff, a lot of personal stuff that I went through. When life just kind of like everything, like you kind of pay the tab for your like 20s. Yeah. You know what I mean by that? I feel like that's where I was just like, oh, I need to reconfigure myself. Like a
hard reset.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like it got to the point where I was like, how am I living? Like, what am I doing? So everything changed. Like I went through this huge transition. And so that's kind of what the reason why I was like, I need to be on my own and kind of like do my own thing and like see where it takes me. And it was scary, but it did like light a fire, and it made me kind of like view myself like, what is my brand? Like what am I off? Yeah. And honestly, that's when I started really pushing drawing more, because with realism, we all know, and a lot of people like to talk about like realism artists don't draw, and like
preach. No, I'm kidding.
Like preach it. Fine, but we all know realism is really hard to do. It's hard to do anything. Any type of art, has its thing. But like for me, I was like, let me get back in touch with my roots and my drawing, and like I started buckling down and like looking up YouTube videos on how to like draw figures and stuff, because I love pinups. Like that's my thing. So I'm like, let me lean into this. And so that was when I moved to on my own. I'm like, I really want to just like push myself. So
do you feel like now you have that slack to kind of, you can go back into this little space, fill in a lot of that growth that you're yearning for? Like you kind of have this void of whether it's like techniques or whatever. You feel like now you have that opportunity to do that, right? Is that where you're kind of...
Yeah, dude. And it was more because of like the slowdown. I feel like I think most of us noticed that there was a slowdown. And for me, it was like, I feel like the minute 2023 hit, like,
different, huh?
Yeah, like I had a backlog. I was like, 3-4 months out, you know, like, yeah, I'm busy, y'all. Like,
Sure.
get on the wait list, books closed.
I got no time for you.
Time, you know, and then
Right.
it's like slowly dwindled out. I'm like,
You're
oh,
like, wait,
shit.
hold up. Yeah.
Like,
Where's all my tabs at? Yeah.
Right, dude.
Hit the yellow pages of your clients. Yeah.
dude,
That's
like
funny.
anyone.
Right.
But
I got time.
yeah, dude, I did have time. And
Right.
so what I did with that time was draw. I honestly started drawing my ass off.
Sharpen it up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this and not just like sharpen my skills, but also get in touch with like my creative like fire and like, and then I realized like, oh shit, like I need this. Like I personally need to draw to stay sane. Like I need to create. Like I never nourished that
Working
part.
out that muscle, you know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And again, yeah, the skill thing, absolutely. But also there is something very like innate in I think all of us, like creatives, like to create.
Yeah, it's like an integrity side, I feel too.
Yeah.
I feel like you're being honest to yourself of being what you stand by.
Right.
Because I feel it. I know exactly what you mean. I've been wanting to pick up watercoloring back tattoo flash, like the old school.
Yeah.
We have to literally set it up and leave it out. We can't put it away. We can't just have it in the back and be like, tomorrow I'm going to start that watercolor piece. It's like, no, I'm going to go grab it.
Yeah.
Before my client for today comes in, I'm going to go set up my painting stuff. Everything's out. And then once I'm done, I'm forcing myself to sit and I can't put things away. Because, you know, we all have that, I'm going to put an easel in the corner.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm going to be doing realism all day or something. I talk to a lot of the guys that, you know, they'll say the same thing. They'll say, I have to, I ask them, how do you stay active in art? They have that time that's very specific for them to just go to do it. Like they just do it. Just do it. Like, how do you have time for art? Do it. Just no excuses. Turn around after your client, make it a pact to kind of turn around and work on that oil painting. What kind of mediums do you work on? I was curious of what kind of art stuff.
So I mainly draw on my iPad.
Okay,
know,
okay.
like,
all that talk. No, I'm kidding.
I know, dude.
Yeah, you still go.
Yeah, dude. It's just the most efficient way.
I
you
get
know?
it.
Yeah, like it's just. But I have been trying to do more. Like for me, it was always pencil, graphite. You know, like as a kid, it was always graphite. Some color pencils here and there, but yeah, dude, just that pencil. You know, pick up the pencil and I've been again like I have been doing more and like there's videos like I have videos on my drawings that like go on my Instagram.
Yeah, I wanted
like,
to talk about that next for sure. Yeah,
you know, so I do it not as often as I should. I know that, you know, but for me it's like efficiency, like you know, so like when I do sit down and draw these things that come from the heart, like I want to draw this and I just get all creative. It's just for me like that energy, like to honor that energy of like that like. Instead of like getting all the pencils out and the sharpener and all, like I just iPad, boom, like put all the energy into that drawing.
That's what I meant though. You know, it could get really unorganized if we have to bring out
everything,
all the stuff.
Yeah, dude.
And that already makes you lazy in a sense, huh? You're like, I gotta, I
the
get
setup and then the mess.
It's practical. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, that's and not saying. I mean, the value in live medium is great. Like it's absolutely necessary, and I know I need to do it more. You know. But yeah, I feel like I'm putting the energy into all the things, you know, equally. Like my drawings, my designs, you know, I sometimes practice my designs. So like my realism designs and like photoshopping and like cut and pasting, all of that. That's an art form too, you know, like so I am putting more time into all of it and like here and there bits and pieces just to boost every part of like, because I need that too, you know, like then I have to design something and I'm like, I don't know these tricks on Procreate, you know what I mean? So I try to practice a little bit of everything when I have the time, you know.
There's so much more like you said, the tricks on Procreate that I'll learn just from running into someone that's like aficionado at it, you know. They're just like, did you know I literally have to save that page and I'll go in and I'll like do the things that they're saying, like they'll mention about bringing out shadows or accenting things if you're doing like a whatever realism or statue or something, right? And I didn't know how to do a lot of that stuff. I knew how to like stencil it and just kind of eyeball it, right? But it's like there's a way to actually pinpoint it. There's a lot of cool things that are, you know, that's such a practical tool though. And it's something to make us, you know, practice it and continue it. But I know those OGs that are still they won't touch it. They stay on the hard medium, like you said. What's your approach and relationship on being relevant and having that presence on social media? Because I have obviously seen that you do a lot of the like your reels and a lot of your highlights is always trying to like, you know, you're trying to captivate, you're trying to capture somebody's attention to stop or things like that. So what's your take on that and how social media is the pressure or I mean, what does all that mean to you?
Oh my gosh, social media. It is a love-hate thing with
It
that.
is, right? It's a beast. You gotta feed it.
Beast,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like I wasn't, so I only have social media because of tattooing. I never was good at putting myself out there, dude.
Yeah.
Like taking a picture, I was like always kind of awkward with stuff like that. And now that I have done it, you know, I've had my Instagram for like 11 years or whatever. It's grown, but it's hard for me to, like, I don't always get the engagement, you know? And then that's so like disheartening, you know? Like I put all this effort into like this tattoo and like, oh, I try to make it dope. And then
let's pull up your page.
Oh my God.
Let's see all your social media. What's your, I guess, your goal and strategy to be that relevant? I like your logo, by the way, the brand of it. That's sick.
Thank you. Yeah, dude. So lately what I do is I post a reel and a photo, and a photo. And then, you know, if I'm promoting a trip, so that's generally like my game
like the
plan.
Strategy of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got a security code. We
Yeah.
got a hack on this real quick. Tony, shout out to Tony, the one on the 1 and 2s.
Instagram is, I only have Instagram. That's all I have the headspace for, you know?
Right. That's all your like capacity of what to manage and handle.
Yeah, dude. Social media is a lot for me. It takes a lot of energy out of me, and
No, for sure.
I don't always put the time into it that I should, you know? Sometimes I really get sick of it.
Is that the balance thing? Like, because I was curious on like how it's helped you grow, but also there's like that flip side where it's also like it kind of weighs over your head with that whole pressure to have to post, pressure to have to hit this algorithm, hit this, you know what I mean? What would you say as far as your balance so you don't get so consumed into it and you still have like your own soul?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like I just kind of go through these waves where I'm like motivated to be on it, and then I get sick of it. And I don't know. I haven't tracked like what, like every 3 months. I don't know. Like right now I'm kind of sick of it. Like I did a bunch of traveling and I should have been posting.
Right.
But
you're busy though with like things that are in front of you that are.
Yeah, dude. And honestly, like I'm going to say this. Like I've noticed that I don't get as much engagement unless I put like a selfie or something, you know, like a picture. And that, like, I hate it. You know, I hate it.
You're like cringed, but you still do it.
Yeah, dude, because I don't always feel like putting myself out there. You know, I don't always feel like taking a picture and putting my face out there.
Right.
Like sometimes I just want to put the work, you know, but I promise you it does not get the engagement, you know, like the last thing I posted was, okay, so that dog one, that dog portrait, ended up getting 53 likes, y'all. Like I have 10K followers,
guys.
You know, like
where's the love?
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Yeah, so you know, some of them do well, some of them don't. And I mean, I think that's with anyone. Even I know people that have like so many more followers and they don't get engagement. Like I see it, you know, I'm like, okay, they have the struggle too, you know.
I think it's everywhere too, because it'll show you on a reel the interactions it's having, and it's like 3-point-something K with like 50 likes.
Yes.
It's almost like when people want to listen, like for instance this, they'll listen to this episode, but they won't like actually, you know, do the action of liking or subscribing. Hint that, come on guys, let's get with it. So I feel like that does run parallel with a lot of the work.
Yeah.
But it's funny because that does shine how people were like saying like slaves to the likes. We're not asking for the likes, but give us a little bit of a sense of it just shows that like, are you there?
Yeah.
It's like Netflix trying to ask you still watching, bro?
Are you
still watching?
Still there?
You still see my stuff?
Yeah, dude,
yeah.
I think it comes down to, I just want people to see it. I just want people to see this tattoo.
See it, but also, you know, give you a little bit of recognition.
Yeah,
right?
dude.
It doesn't hurt anybody. Come on now.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, you know, and obviously the likes show how many people engaged in this. And then the more likes, the more it like, you know, shows it to more people.
Yeah, that's wild.
You know, so like I meet all these people and like half of them don't see my work because it doesn't pop up on their thing.
But you can see the difference of like all the level of your work as far as your style and what the evolution of it, the execution. You have some dope work. It's super cool. And now talking to you, I've seen your work, but it's like now I see it in a whole different lens because now I know a lot of your backstory, and I'm like, I could see the whole Aztec timeline.
Yeah.
And I could see the timeline when you're, you know, into the whole like the pinups and everything, and understanding the realism and the, you know, where you were implementing and applying all that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think when I started like taking the time to draw more, you can see the mix of like realism and illustrated. And I mean, there's some that are just straight up illustrated, some that are just straight up realism, but like then when it starts to blend together, it's like kind of cool.
It's
You're
so
making
dope,
a baby, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, that's different.
You're blending it all.
Yeah, dude.
It's super cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Finding that balance today is still a struggle though, right? Man, I don't want to post.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you fall off if you don't post every consecutively, or something that you're working towards also. Planning things not to feel like, I'm sure you have tons of stuff to put up, but then you're just kind of, do you have that that confidence issue maybe, even though if you lay it all out and we see the accomplishments and you see all the stuff that you've done amazing, right? But then you're just like, man, how much do I have to post? Or I don't even want to have to post. Like, people should understand what I do. Like, why should I show more?
It gets frustrating. It just gets exhausting, you know, like
for sure.
making reels, you know, if I could just like post the raw video, but like that doesn't get engagement, you know, so it has to be this curated, like, I gotta put a selfie first, and
director,
dude, and then the stencil, right?
Right. You gotta direct the whole movie,
dude, and then so all of that takes so much time, you know. So like right now, I definitely don't have the energy to like put all that together. You know, I don't know, dude. And then,
I mean, you suffered. I mean, we all face it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, you're inside, I guess. I was just curious for it, because like, we all hit that wall.
Yeah.
We all hit that where we're just like, you know, it's like, what can I put next? Or I'll have a plan.
Yeah.
You know, because they say you can time you could do the posts and accordingly, like a calendar.
Right.
But then you're just like, all right, I'm gonna do this day, but then it's like, I gotta go, kids graduating, doing this, or we're doing an award ceremony here, or I got a consult, I got to go, you know, and then this weekend I'm trying to take it off. I wouldn't say it's a procrastination, but it is a exhausting thing to keep up with. And I feel like some people are over it, where they just will post a story, and they won't do much as the actual, you know, on their page, but they'll be active on stories. Like, I know a lot of artists that are, as soon as they're done tattooing, they'll just, they'll do a video, and then they have that as an active story instead of doing active posting or active reels. And I feel like that has some sort of engagement too. It has a little bit of a good outcome.
Yeah. I definitely do the stories consistently.
Right.
Yeah, I do my stories consistently, but you know, even those views aren't always, you know,
they don't match up.
They don't always match up, you know. Sometimes like, you know, gotta post that selfie, y'all. Like, take it, you know,
on the drive over here,
on the way over here.
Go.
Yeah, that was me.
Cool. You're just in the butt country, middle of nowhere.
Dude, for real.
Where are these guys? Where's this guy taking me?
Yeah, dude.
Where am I going? Where was that?
Yeah,
that's just like the outskirts. Where'd you come in from right now? Is it from
Imperial?
Okay, Imperial.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you're at.
So that's where I was at. So super south. Yeah. But
yeah, look at you, Miss Director over there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, when I do it, I feel like I do it right. You know,
No,
like,
for sure.
Like, look at that.
That's all technician right there.
Yeah, dude. But you know, it just takes so much time, and like, again, like, there's just so many hats to wear in this, you know, job. And you know, when you don't have like that influencer like
background,
the bone, you know, like you
have to learn it as we go.
Yeah, dude. Some people have it, you know, some people have that before the tattoo like skills and experience, you know, and it's like, you know, that's cool, you know.
Now there's have you seen conventions will do classes now where it's like social media,
they do.
Like a seminar. You know, I used to do the seminars for like specific for tattooing. Now they're doing seminars for the social media growth and marketing.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's a whole category.
It is.
They should have as an award, like the best reel.
Get the best reel.
Submit your reel at the convention and be like, best reel.
People will throw a fit
for
influencer prizes.
That shouldn't be an award. Just saying out there. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, just jokes.
Don't light me up. Yeah,
dude.
What keeps you inspired outside of tattooing right now? As far as when you're not tattooing, because I know you mentioned you want to stay active with your art, but where do you draw that inspiration, or like, what are your hobbies? Do you have a hobby? Do you have a time for a hobby right now?
My hobby is my work.
Okay, so you're just indulged and you're like obsessed by what you do. And
so my hobby is when I don't have to design for someone. My hobby is sitting down and drawing for fun.
Okay,
that's when I'm like, yes, you know, like that's what I do. Yeah, I don't have.
So where do you draw inspiration to do that? Like, where do you? To keep that wheel going.
It kind of is. I'm either on or off, and it comes from anywhere. So like, I'm a big history nerd. I love documentaries. Like, it comes from anywhere. You know, like I love biographies on women. You know, like I am so pinups, right? Like it's usually just what, like, so I draw like girlies and like so. documentaries on old Hollywood. Like I love stuff like that. And it does inspire me. I'm like, oh, like powerful women, like really I can draw inspiration from anywhere, you know? Lately I've been very much inspired by like indigenous culture, like Aztec culture. Yeah, dude, like all of that is like, I don't know.
Have you ever done like an ancestry thing where you like tie your roots? Are you legit like Azteca?
I know. So, okay, my little brother did one of those, you know, 23andMe, whatever.
Sure.
And we're pretty much, Mexicans are generally like half Native American, which is just like natives to North America, you know, the Americas. So that counts like Mesoamerican, you know, all of that, and then half European. So we are just half and half, you know, but my parents are from Michoacan. So the indigenous peoples there are called Purepecha or Tarascos, either or. And I don't know. I haven't done the deep dive, but I imagine that our roots come from there, unless, you know, it's hard. I've tried kind of like diving into that, but a lot of the records in Mexico are not in computers. You know, like my dad was born in a small town, like in the middle of nowhere. He's living out there now. Like, so like his parents were just lived there. They didn't, you know what I mean? They lived there their whole life. So I'd imagine their parents. So like, it's not easy to just find records on like where I come from, but I do want to know. Like, I want to go out there. I want to go to Mexico. I want to learn more.
Yeah, that'd be cool to do that.
Yeah,
just kind of dig up some, you know, hit some trails of the family.
Dude, I'm fascinated by all of that.
Yeah, that
you
seems
know?
cool.
Yeah, and so that goes into my work, you know, and I've drawn my little Aztec pinup girls and dude.
And there's a huge audience for that too. I mean, you've been pulling a lot of amazing work, that the energy of Aztec.
The Gibson girl was just an image, but that was used for like promoting products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then so now they that kind of evolved into the whole like pinup style art.
Yeah, that was just like the first like
reference.
wave of like a popular look for like the it girl, the Gibson girl.
Yeah.
So there was I actually know history, you know, but like that was
put us on game.
Yeah, dude, that was the first time where like a look was like the thing.
Iconic. Ideal Kardashian.
Yeah, kind of, you know, like this is how you wear your hair and this is what you would find on products, and you know,
that makes sense.
So yeah, that was technically the first pinup wave, I guess, of. And of course, like that was when, you know, industrialization. So like that was the first time things were produced in mass amounts. So like you could actually put something on a product. Yeah. So that's probably why it was the first wave of that. You know, before that, there wasn't a way to like spread that because we weren't connected, you know?
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. And then in the 50s, you know, for like the war, then those pinup girls. Yeah.
Belle, like,
those are the pinups that we probably think of, like the cheesecake pinups, which that was to me growing up like everything. Like I loved this type of art.
So you're always just drawn to this whole.
Yes, dude. Like I love this stuff so much. Like I don't know what it is, but that's just what I loved, you know. And I always try to practice drawing them.
Now you're gonna head back to the shop, right? Or do you still have travels? Is this like your last stop before you head back to?
Yeah, last stop. Tomorrow I go home, and I think I have an appointment on Thursday.
Right to it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, go back home and go back to my shop, and I haven't looked at my schedule. Like it's overwhelming. Yeah, but I have to like probably once I get home, then I'll look and see and like reach out and confirm too.
Like, yeah. No,
it's a lot. It's
I'm just curious. So you obviously do have like the still trips planned and.
Yeah.
For like other next conventions and things like that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
How often, like how much time do you give yourself to kind of recoup and
regroup? Yeah. I try to do once a month, a trip once a month. These back to back, this is rare. I never do back to back. Like it's a lot, you know?
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
Yeah, dude, I was so tired.
I mean,
yesterday.
I remember that. It's like, it's exhausting, dude. People don't realize that you're taking your equipment.
Hopefully I get to do another show in May. That might be the next one, the New York one.
Okay. Is it the New York
Empire
Inc?
Yeah.
Empire. Yeah. Yes. I've done that one before. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So are you gonna just follow with the same crew or?
No, kind of like hopefully a couple of the girls in the crew we might do it. It's not for sure yet, you know, but it's not with the crew. But that's the beauty of it, you know, like you meet people and then you can link up on your own or, you know, Angel has a group chat and invites people here and there to make it the official Black and Gray. But other than that, like, I mean, you can just go off and with whoever you want. You know what I mean?
So it's not like you're tied down to a contract where it's like,
exactly.
no, you only here.
Yeah, you can't go with other crews or whatever.
That's
like,
right.
no, a lot of the...
That's done right.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, you
that's
know,
cool.
It's about just the love of the craft, and we just get together when we
and
can.
unity.
Yeah, dude, it's dope.
Where can people find your shop? Like, do you advertise out openly or?
No, I don't advertise the actual address.
Okay, so then to getting hold of you, like where can people find a lot of your stuff as far as like your booking and things like that, or where people can find your calendar, your schedule?
Yeah, so everything is through email, but so Instagram, or if you don't have Instagram, my website, and it's all Nabile Torres Tattoo.
Okay.
So that's my handle, and that's the website. So, but yeah, just for that's enough. Like that's enough for me, you know. Like
that's enough for you to like actually handle
keep up with, you know. But
right.
I do try to take everything through email. I do some DMs, but like some of those get lost, you know.
Yeah,
like
they do for sure.
If you don't follow them, it's like in a hidden folder, like or something weird. So I don't always.
It just gets stacked with new stuff and it gets buried.
It gets buried.
That's a real thing, you know.
Yeah.
I try to tell people about that too.
Right, right. But some people don't like email, and I get it. Like even that's becoming outdated, but that's the best way for me to like keep up.
Are you just word of mouth at home then, or is it like by referrals in? Is that how you kind of like structure everything, your system, or?
Yeah, I mean, I promote on Instagram, you know, I promote in the city, you know, but yeah, for the most part, I do have my clientele, and then it kind of grows that way. Or again, like I'll promote, like if it's kind of slow, I'll do a promotion in Denver, and then sometimes I'll get new clients that way. You know, I'll do deals. I'm like, wait, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever gets people in, you know.
It's a grind. It's a grind.
You know, we got to stay booked somehow. So yeah, I try to promote myself mainly that way. And that's how people can find me, is through my Instagram or my website.
For sure. Definitely have to make sure to put that up. So to kind of put everything in a bow, out of everything you've been through, if you were to sit down and someone were to come to you and ask for advice, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be like tattoo advice, just life advice. But from all your life experiences, what have you taken from life? What would you say?
The biggest thing that I've learned is that getting to know yourself is the most important thing. And it's like actual work, like getting to know who you are is like, because before if somebody would have asked me like, oh, do you know who you are? I would be like, yeah, like I know who I am. Like, but I did not, you know, and like, and not until recently, like, you know, and like however you want to do that, you know, everybody has their journey, but like I think that is one of the most important things. And I think a lot of people don't have the luxury to do that, you know, whether it's like, you know, you have your kids, you're just like living for your family, like you don't have the time, you know. But I do think that everybody needs to go on that journey to live life in a way that's like at the very basic, just healthy.
Yeah.
At the very best, fulfilling and joyous, you know, like you just got to know who you are, how to deal with yourself, you know, like how to maneuver in this world with what you were given, you know, with how your brain is wired, with how your soul works, you know, how you take in people, like all of that is, I think, the key to like going about life in a meaningful way.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. Up to this point, at least, huh?
Up to this point. I mean, I don't know if that's like super deep.
Coming here fast from here on forward.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's
awesome.
Definitely the most important like gift I've been giving is like realizing that I'm like, oh, I got to know myself. Like you know, I've changed a lot. I went through a transition where like, I know I'll never be the same as I was before that transition, you know? So I feel grateful that I learned that, and that like, yeah, moving forward, it's about keeping up, like, tuning back in with myself, checking back in, you know, like, is this right for me? Does this feel right? Like, am I doing this for the right reasons? Like, am I happy here? Like, you know, that I never did before. I just kind of went with life. Like, okay, well,
just
I'm here
caught
now.
up in that
just
grinding
situations,
wheel.
you know, like I'm in this situation now, I'll be in another one later. Like now I can choose what situation I want to be in. Like I don't have to be in a room where I don't feel comfortable in, period. Like that's very important to me.
Yeah, I feel like that should be something everybody's aspiring to do. You know, everyone should strive for that.
Yeah, or at least wake up to it.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't know what you don't know. And then once I woke up to just even that notion, I'm like, oh wow, you know, like it's just a crazy realization. So like I would imagine most people don't aspire to that because it's not something that like we are aware of. Nobody
Right.
tells us that. Nobody teaches us that. Most people didn't have parents that had the luxury to get to know themselves, you
For
know.
sure.
Like I feel like it's a more recent phenomenon that we have the space to do
Right.
that, you know.
Yeah, the capability and the knowledge. I appreciate you so much for joining in and coming out the ways. And we definitely have to like plan something to go travel somewhere. I was talking to Caesar about it too, and I was like, you know what? I might even have to hit up Angel and just be like, dude, let me just join in and pop in. It'd be dope just to talk to the guys too. And a big shout out for you and what you're doing. It's like I said, I've known you for so long, I just never knew you.
Yeah.
And it's not often how we're able to sit down and put everything on pause and really get to talk. Hear a lot of your backstory and like how the evolution of, you know, your art, the artistry and as a person, just very, you know, it's very humbling to hear a lot of that. It's pretty dope. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening in and tuning in to the end. A big shout out to A4S Studios again and Tony on the 1 and 2s. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it for the production. Everybody don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you guys also check out her work, the Instagram information, all the details. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. This has been Tattooing Out Loud. Appreciate you guys. Later on.